Hey, hello friends and followers. In this video, we are going to learn how you can connect your API with Cloud Firestore database. So this is Swarnim. You are watching Code with Swarnim. Welcome back to my channel. So let's get started. So in our previous video, we learned how to create the REST API. This is the part 2 of this build series. So you can go on to my channel and watch my previous video to learn how to create a REST API. So in this video, what we are going to do is when the user front end makes a request to the backend server, which is our API, the API will add the user front end data that will be passed on to the API. The API will add it to our Cloud Firestore database, and similarly, we will also learn how you can read data from the database and return it as a response to the front end user. So let's get started. So here is our project. Firstly, you can go on to my channel and watch my previous video. In this video, we learned how to create the API, the basics of creating API with Firebase Cloud Functions. So go on to my channel and watch this video. I will put the link of this video in the description below. You can check that out. So this is our app that we created in our previous video. So to learn how you can start with Cloud Firestore database, firstly you will come onto the project of Firebase and go onto the Firestore database section. And firstly it will ask you to start connecting Cloud Firestore database. You can go on to that and just hit the next button and it will be created. And in the rules section, what you need to do is just allow read and write so that we get the permission to read and write in the database. Over here, for example, I have a collection with the name users, and in that I have a document user1. Cloud Firestore is a NoSQL database, which means it does not works on sequence and relational database like other database. Over here we have collections and documents. So to read these fields, for example, over here this is a document user1 and it has a field with name and phone number. Of course, that is not my phone number. Don't call on that number. So let's learn how you can read this data, and after that we will learn how you can add documents to this database. So let's get started. So this is our app. So firstly we will require a Firebase admin library. So let's just install the npm dependency for the Firebase library. Okay, just a second. We need to be inside the functions folder before we install that. So I will type cd functions, and now I will install Firebase admin library. So to access this database, you will require the Firebase admin dependency in the node server, npm I Firebase admin. Let's go on and install it. It might take few moments to install the dependency as it's a quite heavy dependency. Okay, I guess it's installed. Let me just access it by creating a variable and giving it a reference, constant Firebase require Firebase admin. Okay, and we need to initialize our Firebase admin library. For that we will just simply write a code, Firebase .initialize app, and inside it we will need the parameters to access the database. So how will the Firebase admin library know that we are an authentic user? So to access the Firebase database using Firebase admin library, you need to have the permissions. For that, just go on to the settings and the service account section, and over here you will get the permission.json file. You can just simply download that. Make sure you don't lose that or give it to someone else. They will get the access of your database. So let's generate a new private key. Okay, it has been downloaded over here as you can see. Let's just put that into our main functions folder, and let me just close this, and let's just rename it to some smaller name, maybe permissions.json. Okay, and over here you just need to pass that permission.json file. So for that we will first simply create let's just get the access to that by typing service account, just creating a variable and adding that over here /permissions.json. Okay, now we have that permission.json file in the service account. Okay, now let's just add it over here. Okay, so to add that over here, we will just simply type credential and pass that object by typing firebase dot credential dot certificate. For certificate we will use CERT, and just pass that service account file so that we get the access to our database. And you can also pass some additional URLs like database URL, but if for this video we are not using the real-time database, we are using Firestore database. So to get the access to this database, now we will create a reference for this Firestore database. To create that reference, you will just simply need let's just type constant db for database, and to get the reference for that we will type firebase.firestore. So over here we got the Firebase Firestore in this db constant. Let me just rearrange this, put this maybe here, and we need to initialize before we get the access. Okay, now it's looking fine. Currently it's showing db is declared but not used. Okay, we will use it when we will create request. You can install one extension for VS Code, which is the ESLint extension, so that you don't face any errors during compilation. It will directly show you the errors in the VS Code editor itself. Okay, so let's create a post request, maybe a get request this time, app.get, and simply give the name of the API, which will be in this case add data. Firstly, we will learn how to add data to the database, then we will learn how to read data from the database. Let's just get the reference for request and response so that we can return. Okay, so to learn how you can add the data, let's go on to the Firebase site, which is firebase.google.com/docs. Over here you will find the docs on how to add. It's the same code. Let me just show you. It's the same code which is used in JavaScript, as all the syntax is same for NodeJs as well. So you can directly copy this code and paste it, although it's for JavaScript web version 8, but you can use this. They have also released web version 9, which I don't currently prefer to use that. Let me just copy this and paste this snippet over here. Okay, there is some indentation problem. Let me just resolve that. Okay, so instead of writing, okay, so what this code is doing over here is, firstly we are getting the DB reference which we created earlier, and then collection. Over here we will type the collection name. So we will access this users collection, add and learn how to add the user too. So for that we will type the collection name, which is users, and document name we will type user2 because we already have user1. So user2, over here we will use the set method. If you want to update the someone's profile, user profile, you can use the update method instead of set method. Set is for adding and update is for updating. So here we will pass the parameters and fields which we need to add to the database. So I will simply type name, and over here we want to get this name whatever the user frontend will pass us. So to get that, we will simply create a variable with the name, and let's just get it from the user request. So for that, request dot body, we will pass that into the body section, although you can pass it into the header as well. Request.body.name. Over here you need to pass the key of the parameter. I've already shown this in my previous video on how to create the test API and pass the parameters. You can go and watch that first. Okay, and here we have got the name. Let's also get the phone number as well in the same way. Phone equals to request dot body dot phone. Okay, and let's just get this variable and pass it into the database, store it into the database. And phone, which is equals to phone, you need to close it with a comma. Make sure all the indentation and syntax is proper. And after it's successfully added, it will go on to the then, else if something went wrong, it will go on to the catch section. Firstly, let's write the code. What will happen if we have successfully added? So we will just simply return the response that the data is successfully added. Return res.status. Status we will do 200. It means it's successfully added. And let's just send a message. Data added successfully. Okay, if we get this as the response, it means the data has been added successfully. Let's just copy this for the error part as well. Okay, and data failed to add data. Let's write it over here. Okay, failed to add data. Okay, now let's just test this API whether it works or not. So to test it, I will just run the npm server. Let me just clear that and open a fresh terminal. Okay, npm run serve. Okay, just let me go on to the cd functions folder by typing cd functions. Okay, now I am into the functions folder. Let's just run the npm server. Okay. Okay, the server is starting. It's been created. Okay, we have successfully created the server and it's started. The app is live. Okay, let me just go on to this URL and copy this. Okay, something went with my screen recorder, something went wrong. Okay, now let's just put that in our Postman so that we can test it. So the name for our API is add data. Let me just type that v1 then add data. Okay, this is a get request. I think yes, we created as a get request, and in the body section as raw JSON we need to pass all the parameters. Phone. Okay, let me just type a random number. It's not my phone number. Okay, it's done. Let's just change the name so that it doesn't matches with the first user. Okay, let's just save it and send a request and check if it works or not. Okay, boom, we got the response data added successfully, which means I will be able to see that in our database, and it's here user 2. You can see that the data is successfully added. Let's just try it once again and see for the user 3. Let's just change it for user 3. You can also get this ID of the document from the parameter which user has passed. It depends on your use case. Okay, so let's just send the request and try once again. Okay, just a second. You will be able to see it over here in a second. Okay, as you can see, user 3, we have got the data, and now our API works successfully, and we are able to add data. Now let's see how we can read data. So for reading data, I will simply create another API. We will use the get method. I prefer the get method, and let's just name it read data. Okay. So this API will read the data and return it as our response. Okay, request response. Okay. So let's firstly get, this time we will get the user 3, the key of the document from the user's parameters passed. So for that we will write key equals to request dot body dot user ID. Okay, user ID. Let's just rename this as user ID. Okay, now to read that data, what we will need to do is just a second. Let me go on to the Firebase docs and see how we can read data. Get data once only, because we only want to get the data once. Okay, we will you can see over here that we have the code. Let me just go on to this and copy it. Okay, let's go to our app and paste that code. Some indentation problem. Okay, let's just return the response first. If the data is not added, fail to read data. Okay, so what this code is doing, let me just get the reference to our document first. So for that I am just simply copying the previous code. DB collections user, we are going to the user's collection and reading the data for user 3, but what we want is the data which we return is for the user ID which the user has specified. So I will just simply get the user ID from the variable which we created, the data that user has passed, and if the document exists, so let's just return a response, return a success response, which is rest.status 200. Oops. Okay, send a message, and if we have successfully read, what we want to return is the name of the user. So to get the name of the user, what I will do is simply get the over here we have simply got the reference for our document. So we will type doc.data, and over here I will type the name of the key, in our case which is name. We need to type this key over here, so we will type name. If we want to get the phone number, we will type phone number. If we want to get the email, we will type email. Over here I want to get the name of that user, so I will simply type name. And if the document doesn't exist, what we will do is return the response as no such user exists. Okay, now let's just check it if it works. So what we are doing is getting the user ID which has been passed on to the API, and reading the user ID name and returning it as our response. And if the user doesn't exist, we will return this, and if something went wrong, we will return fail to read data. Or maybe you can return the error as well by typing error. Okay, Let's just check it if it works or not. Let's go on to our Postman, and in the body we need to, okay, let's just create a new request instead and name this request as a read data that we created for post data, and this is for read data. This is a get request again, and let me just paste on to the URL. Okay, and over here read data, and we will use read data, and in our body section we will pass the user ID of what which user we want to get the name. So let's type user ID, and the value will be, we want to get the name of user 1. Let's try to get the name of the user 1. Okay, so to get the value of, let's go and check this. Okay, wow, we got the name for our user 1. We passed over here user 1 and we got the response as the name of the user 1. Let me go on to the, over here you can see the name is Swarnim, and we just passed the key of the user, document ID of the user, and we got the name of that user. Okay, let me just try to change it to user 2 and get the name of the user 2. As you can see, it works perfectly fine. We are able to read and add data. Now let's also learn how we can delete the document in the database. So for that we will go on to read, instead of that we will just go on to delete data. Just a second. Okay, so to delete the data, it's in the add and manage data section, and over here it's in the delete data. You can copy this code. I will put the link to this Firebase doc site in the description. You can go in the description and visit this site. Let's just create another API to delete data, which will be get, okay, / delete data. Okay, just a second. Okay, let's paste it over here. Indentation problem, failed to delete data. Okay, and after the data has been successfully deleted, we'll just simply return a 200 response stating data document deleted successfully. Yes, it will be document deleted successfully. I have used data everywhere instead of document. Okay, data deleted successfully, no need to pass this error. Okay, let's just test it, and okay, we need to define the collection from which collections we want to delete the data, and what will be the user document ID of the document. So for that we will just get the user ID constant. We will use user ID equals to request.body.user ID. Okay, so we will delete the document with the name user ID. Okay, let's just test it. Let's just create a new request, add request, delete data. Okay, let's just paste the URL, same URL, and instead of read data it will be delete data. Okay, let's just save it, save this one as well, and in the body section in raw form we will pass the user ID, the document ID, which the key will be user ID, and the value for that, just let me select the JSON. Okay, now it's fine, and over here as the value we will pass the document ID, which is user3 for example. Okay, so the user3 will be deleted. Let's just check this once. Okay, let's just send a request and see. Okay, as you can see, the data just got deleted, and we might, yes, we have successfully got the response, document deleted successfully. So this is how you can delete the document. I showed you in this video how you can delete the document, how you can read document, how you can add a document in Cloud Firestore database. So this was all for this video. In the next video we will learn, just a second, we will learn how to create complex APIs and maybe some Firebase database stuff, and we will learn how you can perform simple and compound queries in the database and just play with this database stuff. So thank you friends for watching this video. If you like my video, please subscribe to my channel as it helps me to make more such videos for you all. So thank you friends and followers, and bye.